Get it on! Welcome back to Faster You Fall. Brought to you by FitLab, Tailwind Nutrition, Biomaxa and Capital Cycles. So, let me tell you about a good race on the weekend. This was the, I don't know, for some reason, quite a big stage race on the Wellington calendar. People really enjoy. It's called the Wellington Masters Cycling Club 2-day tour in the Wairarapa in Wellington here. Always attracts a good field. This year the field was ludicrously good and I was a little bit scared to line up, but I did and I won. I'll tell you how I did it, and I'll tell you some things I think I learned along the way about racing and some thoughts. So first thing is, thank you to the club for putting on such a great event. It's always well organised. FitLab supports the event now, giving away a coaching and testing package. Capital Cycles always turns up. Brendan and Paul doing a great job supporting this event. And other sponsors, the local wine company. I got this one called Russian Jack Pinot Noir. It was 2016 they were doing. And I had it with a steak on the barbie last night. I can confirm deliciousness. So highly recommend that. The event overall was good. So, as I say, I was a little bit nervous about lining up because the A grade, well, all the grades, but the A grade that I was in was wildly deep with lots of very scary riders, including Dave Rowlands, who has, achieved a lot at the top level in world competition. Andy Hagen, who is just always a top local rider, very aggressive and good local rider. I could go down the list, Dave Weaver, Stephen McKinstry, Hugh Duke. We got there's sort of 10 or 11 or 12 super good guys, and some of them after the prologue got relegated to B grade. I don't know if a lot of the B graders were wildly happy about it because even the guys who got relegated were at such a good level. They probably could have stayed in A grade. So I was kind of thinking, I was going to be outclassed, but I still won. And always, so I'll kind of quickly walk you through how I did it, what I think helped. So, and sort of do that in terms of looking at each stage. So, 3 stages. You've got the short prologue, which is an 8-kilometre individual time trial. A shortest road stage that afternoon, 40-something Ks, and a longest road stage the next day, 90-something Ks. All, kind of rolling, low-level, hilly sort of courses around Martinborough, hot weather. So, by the way, so here's a picture I think Trina Iono took of me starting at the prologue. Now, the first thing you notice is I'm on a road bike. So, in this, only road bikes are allowed, but everything else, aero helmets, skin suits, disc wheel, etc., is all allowed. So, I kind of went in to this event knowing that the time trialing would be sort of my strength. I've never won any of the road stages in the 2-day tour, but I've won it twice. And that's normally because I can take enough time out of very good road sprinters in the time trial overall, so that I can still win. And so you'll see in the picture I've taken advantage of all the full aero options. In the end, Andy Hagen took about 10 or 15 seconds out of me in the TT. Dave Rowlands and I were almost exactly tied up. We were on the same second, about 10 or 15 seconds after Andy. And guys, came after that. So that was a good start. So it kind of meant I needed to do something about Andy, and I wasn't sure if I could do that in the first stage. So let's look at what happened. Here's the prelogue, by the way. If you want to know, I'll show you all my data here. I'm pretty happy with the pacing. If you're looking at the screen, dropping into target power and position by about the 17-second mark there. That's good. You know, always like to have 20 or 30 seconds. You should be into target power and position in any time trial. You can see the power levels pretty flat, averaging somewhere around 394 watts for 6 minutes 45 on the out leg for an average speed of 41.8 k an hour. The turn, and because there was very little wind, speed wasn't a hell of a lot higher. A little tailwind on the way back, averaging about 408 watts on the way back for about another 4 minutes. I think that's very close to my true threshold and about as good as I could do. By the way, I'm holding, that was about 40 watts higher than last year, which is pretty significant. And it's actually, I think, maybe an endorsement for doing weights. I'm much stronger in my backs of my legs. You know, when you're sitting down and you're in the drops, you're producing the power, a lot more reliance on your gluteus, your bum, and your hamstrings under your bum, on the backs of your legs, and your hips to some extent. Now, I can produce that power in that position. I know a lot of you probably have this feeling like you produce a lot more power in a climbing position. That's just because your musculature is adapted that way. You can do something about it, and it's got to the point now where I'm kind of the opposite. I actually produce better power in the seated position in the drops, which is pretty unusual, and that's all because of my gym work. And the other benefit of that, not only for time trialing, but for just being more aero in general. If your mode for making power is down in the drops, well, obviously you're doing that in a more aero position. That's helped me a lot, and I think ultimately that helped my time a lot. So that's good. So let's look at stage one quickly to see how I approach what will become known as the Andy problem. The Andy problem is that he's got 15 seconds on me. Here it is. And maybe, okay, a couple of takeaways from this. Number one is, you know, it was very slow up till the bottom south turn, and then the pace went crazy, and that's all because there was a massive tailwind. You probably can't see so much here, but about a third of the way in, just went bananas. Around about just after Featherston, maybe coming down Kahutra, maybe down the southern end of the lake there, I can't exactly remember, but point being, if you know, I said to Lee, one of the FitLab riders, that I thought that things would get much fruitier in terms of pace in the bunch after the corner because of the tailwind, and it did. It really went crazy. Lots of hard, fast accelerations. Look at this acceleration for me to get back on when I kind of let a wheel go. For 1 minute and 13 seconds, 487 watts. And look at that cadence, 116 RPM, because I had a 12 on my cassette and a 50 tooth. I had to turn that puppy 160 RPM because we were doing 60.9, maxing out at about 66.2 kilometers an hour along there, which is, it's pretty hard to actually turn at 1250 that fast. You can see where my cadence is really getting high there. We'll look at the cadence figure up to 126 RPM for a while. It's kind of hard to keep up. One of the few times racing in the Wairarapa like this where you actually, yes, you can run out of gears. It wasn't crazy, and if you've done a few pedaling drills, you'll be fine. But it's interesting if it's a crucial spot in a race, well, you want to watch out for the pace car being near the front. There's one. Number two, bear in mind, you may actually need a bigger gear. It's possible. All right, after that, the group selection was me. Andy and Dave were still there, as they're always going to be. A couple of other riders. And here's the thing. Some riders weren't pulling through, and I took the advice from the great poet Brendan McGrath when he said, sometimes you just have to be in charge and make the race. So I did. Dave Rollins attacked off the front. Andy wouldn't really work with me, so I decided to go myself, and went past and bridged to Tristan Thomas, who was up the road. Worked with Tristan for a while, dropped Tristan, and you can see about this point here, I'm sort of time trialing up to the next group, which is Brent Backhouse, who was up the road with Dave Weaver. Just a kind of extended period of time there, about 13 minutes, averaging about, not just taking turns with those guys. So you can see here this last piece, taking turns. And, you know, even though the guys in that group, me, Becky and Dave, weren't working equally, I'll leave it at that. You know, I was just remembering Brendan's words, which are just, you make it happen, you be in charge. And that really helped, because ultimately, look, I needed to take time out of Andy. He'd got dropped. So that was the main job for the day. Don't worry about ego on the stage, when just keep working. Ultimately, I got sprinted by Becky and Dave, but here's the thing. The main prize was the GC. That put me in the lead over Becky, Brent Backhouse, who always wins these stages because of his sprint. By the way, Brent Backhouse has got the longest sprint of any human being on earth. I think he started sprinting before the final corner, maybe 500 meters out, kept going into the corner, and then just basically kept going, and I thought he would die. He did not. I don't know how you can beat that. Maybe he doesn't have the biggest jump in the world, but of course neither do I. Probably much better than me. But he sprints long, taking a well-earned victory, followed by Dave and me, all pretty much over a couple of seconds spread. So that put me in the lead in the GC. And then coming into stage 3, it's kind of a problem there, because, well, you know, you don't really know how the bunch is going to ride. Sometimes when you're in the lead, you know, other riders will help or be positive. Other times they're not. This was a no gifts kind of day. No one really wanted to help me at all. So it's kind of bike racing for you. I needed to basically do what Brendan told me to do, just make it happen, and keep it together. So I kind of did. Every time there was a break on, I just kept coming to the front, applying reasonable power. I'm not talking going crazy. Maybe that helps to know your threshold power. Like, see this section here, about a third of the way in, I'm working a lot there, but let's actually look, for about 18 minutes there, 14 Ks, that's all me working. Well, my average power is only 289 watts. You know, what guys don't really realize is you can be on the front and you can be working, but as long as you're quite clear about not overcooking it, you know, people always freak out when they see me on the front. They're like, why is he doing so much work? It's like, well, maybe I'm not. Maybe actually I'm really clear about how much work I need to be doing, because I've tested myself 100 million times and I do this for a job. I know what I can do, still be in a wildly aerobic mode. I'm not burning any matches at all. I know exactly when I'm burning matches, when and why and how. I have no thoughts about that, or no, there's no clarification required in my mind about that. And the thing I noticed yesterday on this last stage was kind of like Brent Backhouse did go up the road for a while, and the mode with a couple of riders seemed to be that they would rather lose time to him and lose their podium or lose their placing, which ultimately they did actually, than just help chase a bit. I'm not talking about going to the front and driving like a train. I'm talking about taking turns, being reasonable. So anyway, that was kind of my conundrum. Ultimately, I did what I do, which is, like, I know if Becky's been away on this break for a while, he can't just steamroll it, especially on a windy day, because he's too far out. We just need to hold him. So I sat there at that, whatever it was, maybe doing up to 340 watts sometimes. 300 watts is no problem for me. 100% aerobic effort. Peg him. I pegged him, and then if and when attacks go from the guys who have been sitting in, which they did, I've still got plenty of juice there to follow. That's what happened in this final third when we did catch Becky about here, maybe 3/4 of the way into the race, and in the hilly parts coming in towards Martinborough. Guys lit it up very hard, including Becky again, by the way, which is good. On the rollers, they did that. I responded, rolled over the top with Dave Rowlands, and followed by Becky. And we rode away from some of the guys who were previously, let's say, not being wildly enthusiastic about being on the front. So look, maybe they were just tired. Maybe that's more of that than I'm saying. Maybe there was more of the fact that they were just shagged out, and that's why they couldn't. I'm a bit skeptical about that. But all this is bike racing, and all this is good for me, because it's a great learning experience. You're going to have... Every bike race is different. That's a classic example of it. My kids and my wife and Brendan, my bike wife, said to me, you know, back yourself. Well, you know, sometimes it's actually quite good advice to take. Quite good to take advice from your wife. And she was saying, so I did. And it was fine. By the way, one thing that also saved me on a little more chemically related matter was the fact that I like to keep a product called Cramp Fix in my pocket. There's a discount code, Cramp Fix, Total Nutrition, 020sports.co.nz. This discount code, go buy some. Put this little tiny gel packet in your back pocket. If you feel cramp coming on, scull it. It tastes disgusting, makes the cramp go away within about 30 seconds, and it doesn't come back by the end of the race. And that, about halfway through this, for some reason, I don't really know what it was, twinge of cramp, had the disgusting nuclear packet, it went away. I'm not saying you'll need it every race, but it doesn't weigh anything. It's maybe like an extra 20 grams in your pocket, but it's insurance against cramp. Check it out. Check it out, 020 Sports. Check out my discount code in the links on the bottom of the video for all that. So that's kind of what I learned. My thoughts about riding and how to deal with it. The podium in the end, me, something 10 to 15 seconds over Brent Backhouse, which was the second GC last year, followed by Andy Hagen. In third, thank you to Lee and Hube, Fit Lab Riders in A grade, for their great contributions. You know, I actually just kind of like, whether or not Lee is feeling it, he's always a good dude to have around in a race, because he's always kind of cheerful and up for it. And Hube is good. He had a great race yesterday, pulled back a lot of time on some of his rivals. Maybe that, the sort of a part there was, you know, like, know that in a road race, smackdown will happen. It's sort of, you know, like warfare, brief and furious. And if you can get through that, you can just hold on or get on, that could be the race. That's why I feel like with training lately, I'm kind of going more towards a mode which is just raise that aerobic economy, your aerobic threshold, all that stuff I was relying on so much, as high as possible when you have a chance to do mileage, and then really concentrate on anaerobic efforts during the season. And maybe that's too broad. For racing like this, maybe that's true. There's other races like the race where you may need sustained efforts at FTP on a hill climb, that's true. But a lot of this rolling stuff is boredom, 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 crisis, boredom, boredom, crisis, boredom, boredom, crisis, crisis, boredom, 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 and then at the end, crisis. So, you know, it's probably quite good to imitate in your training. Okay, so that's the Masters Studio Tour. This weekend, Masters is running another great event, which is the handicap interclub race at Maymourn in Upper Hutt, I believe. Cool rolling course, check it out, only short, 40 something Ks, handicap race. Even if you're not really feeling your form, come out and try it in a lower grade and work well together, and you might find you will hold off scratch and the other breaks, no problem at all. Do that. After that is the Masters Games in Wanganui, where I'll be doing the TT, the hill climb, and the road race, along with many, many glorious FitLab riders who would kind of hope to sweep the podium, Genghis Khan style, up in Wanganui. That's what I'd like to do. So once again, thank you to Capital Cycles. Go to capitalcycles.co.nz. Go to Martinborough Winery, pick up some of their wine. Go to fitlab.co.nz. Go to 022 Sports. It's a weird one, but it's all in the notes there. Get a discount. Go to Biomaxa. I was using the chamois cream in their lube and stuff. That was so good in the heat, so it stopped me getting all chafed up from all the sweat and the salt. There's a discount code in the bottom there for you. Discount code for Biomax on the Vets, the Masters Cycling Club website too. Last thing I'll say is I kind of feel good about results like this, because I feel like it was quite good to be able to be strong against what was a very good field, which by the way is a compliment to those guys. And not only a strong field, but strong field who were giving no gifts. It's good. It's good bike racing. And I feel like it kind of proves that my training works. You know, 40 watts higher in that TT, I'm pretty happy with. That's from some evidence-based changes I've made in my training. This stuff takes years, and it does take time, and it takes patience, and it takes perseverance. So if you do get a coaching plan with me, or not just anyone, just keep those things in mind. You will improve, but it does take perseverance. It's not magic. Writing a plan down doesn't make you faster. It's the actual doing of it. I'm sorry to say something so ludicrously superfluous, but I think you know what I mean. If you would like a coaching plan from me or testing, email me steve@fitlab.co.nz or go to fitlab.co.nz. Check us out. I'm thrilled to be involved with the 2-day tour hosted by Wellington Masters Cycling Club. I enjoyed it. Thank you all for racing. I'll see you on the weekend.